And welcome back. It's time to get into our interview segment where we will be speaking handball. The national team will be traveling for the Africa qualifiers for Tokyo 2020. One of the 16 teams that have qualified, but how well prepared are they? Is the environment in which they're training and currently playing the right one? And what about the state of the league? We'll be speaking with three gentlemen specifically, and on my immediate right, we've got Charles Omondi. He's the Secretary General of the Handball Federation. Technical Director, Handball Federation of the Kenya Handball Federation. Welcome.
Thank you.
TD and Coach Peter Mwathi, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
And a goalkeeper, Jerry Otuoma.
Thank you for
I'll start with Jerry because I watch handball and you as a goalkeeper basically stop projectiles. Basically fast moving balls, heavily inflated. Why pick up that position?
I believe like any other position, it calls for practice, it calls for calling, it calls for passion. And among the 7 positions that were presented when I was being introduced to handball, I chose to be a goalkeeper. So I picked up all the responsibilities and all the duties that are assigned to that position.
What are the risks that come with it? Because people just need to understand that.
Basically, actually, there are no risks. What is there? It's a team sport. So you just required to play your bit to contribute to the team and help the team in securing your goal posts and also being the first attacker.
And Coach, looking at the current state of handball in Kenya, and let me first focus on the women's side. The national team has not been performing as well as the men's team has been performing. It doesn't take much to speak about. I mean, it's the exact opposite of volleyball, where we've got the Malkia strikers, knocking on the doors of Tokyo. But in this case, it's the men's team knocking on, playing at the continental qualifiers. Where is the disparity coming in?
Actually, the position is that our women team, they are equally as good as the men's team. When you look at it recently, them going to represent the country in the All Africa Games, yeah? So you won't say that they are not that good. They are doing quite good because, again, when you look at the Africa positioning, being positioned at position 7, to me, that's very, very good. So they're equally doing good as just how the men's team is at the moment.
Well, the question is, when it comes down to this, when you're knocking on the doors of the Olympics, then or the World Championships, that's where it speaks. Charles, you want to come in there?
Yeah, I want to come in there. You see, the systems for qualifications are slightly different. When it comes to the women, we had the qualifications in Senegal, and they selected the top 4 teams. Slightly different from the men. The men, they decided that they're going to select the top 16 to compete for these slots. And also, other than the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, Africa is also hosting the Men World Championship in 2022. And there are 6 slots to be fought for. So they decided to combine the 2, where the winner will participate in both the World Championship and the Tokyo. The top 6 will participate in Egypt, the World Championship 2022.
2022.
Yes.
Well, we'll be getting into that. But first, as the technical director, first of all, let's talk about the men's league. 23 teams. And just by looking at it, there is one team known as Makueni Bees.
Yes, Makueni Bees.
Who haven't been quite active.
No, they've not been active. They are still putting their house in order. They had requested that let them be included into the league. And we are still expecting another one. They're supposed to be 24 teams. We want 24 teams so that when you play for 1 year, for the 12 months, you've had enough. And the idea that we had this year, we wanted to increase the teams up to 30, so that from the next season, if upon approval by the council, we now have 2 tiers.
2 divisions.
2 divisions. We want to go for the Premier League and also the Super League. So depending on what the members of the technical will agree upon. But we wanted to bring as many clubs as possible.
So having picked up 24 teams, I mean, this is huge then, and the league format that you have, how do you get the teams to play?
No, luckily enough, I would say that we agreed with the managers that we have one center. At the moment, we use Kaloleni.
Yes.
and shortly we'll be using Nyayo. And we're looking forward to also partner with their counties that have shown interest. They want to come up with the handball courts. Once we get these ones, we'll be very comfortable. If we can get about four venues, but what matters are the standards of these venues. We just don't play on any
Let's
other
talk about the
surface.
standards, because we know Nyayo is tartan and safe. Kaloleni is totally different. It's quite hard. It's tarmac. How much does it affect your players, coach, playing on the different surfaces?
Well, as you'd put it, definitely Nyayo would be a better place to be. But playing at Kaloleni, of course, is better again than playing on the grass surface. I think we are trying to cope with the situation because, as I would put it, having Kaloleni and having Nyayo recently had been closed, and therefore it was difficult for us to find any other court. Kaloleni was the better choice that we had.
And now, Kaloleni, how different is it for you as a player? Because everyone, and because when you get to competitive level, now handball now becomes an indoor sport. How does it affect you players, Jerry?
Basically, as my coach has put it, it only becomes better if you have something to compare to. It only gets better, compared to the standards that we have, like, the grass and some that we don't even have grass. So, of course, in relation to other stadiums, we will definitely opt to have Nyayo and those indoor arenas. But as a country, as a player, as a team, we are now faced by, playing our matches at Kaloleni, and we do the adjustments. We buy shoes that are appropriate for that court, and psych ourselves up to and of course it's also a good court because of the fans and the zeal the oomph that it brings to the matches.
The fact that it's smack in the middle of an estate and
yes.
there's live action all the time.
Yes.
And let's talk about the women's league. Just count how many? 9 teams. Nairobi Water, the dominant side here. Then the other teams that have played competitive: Rising Starlets, Cereals and Produce Board, Kenyatta University, Kaluluni and NYS. What about Ulinzi and Sparklers? Because
Sparklers and Ulinzi are yet to play a match. Ulinzi, immediately they resumed. They had other engagements. Remember, Ulinzi are the armed forces. They had engagements in Nanyuki, and they excused themselves. They'll be coming back in December. What we try to do in this league is just we try to make it as friendly as possible to the clubs. We realize that this league is not for the federation. This league is for the clubs, and for us to also have each and every person probably participate comfortably. At times we understand the situations and we try to adjust.
So, and for you, whenever you are planning this, how do you then, draw up your calendar such that if, say, Ulinzi have got to play catch-up, then how do you slot them in with the other teams?
No, that one there's no problem because we agree at times. A team would, when you request, we'll grant you permission, but then also we'll let you know the consequences. For example, like the Ulinzi, the bees that have not played, the Makweni bees, when they resume or when they start their league, at times they'll be forced to play 2 matches in a day. I know it's not easy, but they have to copy that one too.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, and as we speak, I want to go through the 2020 Africa Men's Handball Championship, the 24th edition, from the 15th to the 25th of January in Tunisia. And this will act as an African qualifying tournament for the 2020 Summer Olympics and also for the World Men's Handball Championship in Egypt. Now, Kenya has been pooled with Egypt, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Guinea, and the other teams in that competition, we've got Tunisia, we've got Angola, there's Morocco, Algeria, Gabon, Cameroon, Congo, Brazzaville, Guinea, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Libya, Zambia, and Cape Verde. Coach, tell us about the state of handball in Africa. These are the 16 teams that will be looking at representing the continent in Tokyo.
Of course, very competitive because each and every other team would want to qualify for the Olympics. But when you look at it keenly, the way it is, the groupings, the way it is, I think to me, Kenya being very well favored being in the same pool with Egypt, Congo, and of course Guinea.
Egypt is actually a big...
That's okay. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but what is important for us is that we must make sure that in the groups we win 2 matches, and what is important for us is that we make sure that we go for the quarters. Then when we are at the quarters, we are able to plan very well for ourselves and be able to proceed as from there. It's not difficult at all. We are able. We have played Congo there before. We know what kind of game they play. We know what kind of game Guinea play, and therefore we are in a position to be able to do what is necessary. And the necessary thing is that we win against them.
Jerry, you've always witnessed any time there is a handball competition that is in Nairobi, DR Congo are always around, whether it's at club level or at national team level. What's the quality of this DR Congo team?
Just to echo what my coach has said, I tend to think like any other team, they are a good team, they're exposed, they go for this, they participate in these international tournaments. Basically, yeah, they are such a good team, very competitive, very fast, very experienced players. Most of them who are probably playing in France and other, handball developed countries. And yeah, basically, it's they're very competitive.
And Charles, let's just talk about the kind of competition that you'd expect from these teams vis-a-vis the kind of players that we have here. Because Egypt, at the moment, I think Zamalek won the Africa Club Championship, and Cairo was brought to a standstill. Basically, the way we welcome our athletes is the way they welcomed Zamalek. So you're facing that caliber of players.
Yeah, handball, it depends on the mood at the moment. Like I remember they just concluded the African Games. Egypt lost to Angola. It was not a surprise. So even us as Kenya, they know what we are made of. And one advantage that we have back here, our players are engaged in league matches throughout. We have about 364 matches that we play in a year. So with this one, it has really built our players. So even to select the national team, I know the coach has a lot of homework to do. And what we are doing now as a federation also, we are discussing with Japan to see how they can assist us with their national coach, to be with us for at least a month. And I know with this one, with this kind of an approach, we expect very good results.
Apologies for that. Sorry. And Jerry, what is it that you'd expect from what the technical director has said? A coach from Japan, what is it that you'd want to learn?
Just a different approach, because I tend to have a lot of faith in my local coach. But again, as we all know, we have different tiers of development in the handball sphere. So we also like to see what is happening in these other countries. So I think as a player, and just
be specific, not general.
I think it's just specific, especially on the skills. I've been with my coach for the last 7 years. I just want to see, especially on the attacking side, because generally Kenyans are very good at defense. So I'd also like to see what the foreign coach will bring in terms of especially the attack and the goalkeeping skills.
Now, Coach Mwothi, I want you to tell me, how is it that you would be looking for, when you look at the national team setup, you're selecting a team, how would you select your players for the 7 positions in that team? What are you looking for?
Of course, with the many changes that have taken place in the modern handball, you should be looking for players that are able to fit into that kind of a philosophy. And so much like Jerry here is a goalkeeper, he knows that he has a big task to fulfill, because we have to play modern goalkeeping. And with the modern handball, once you have a good goalkeeper and a good center back, and of course a good line player, you're good to go. And those are the things that we'll be working around and making sure that the team is well gelled in all positions, trying to bring up new ideas on defense, playing different defense formations, and of course again coming with a proper attack on breaking, same kind of defense formations that teams are trying to implement. Yeah.
All right. And for you, the technical director, what is it that you would like done for the national team? You know, the past 1 week we've had enough drama. Nobody wants to hear anything drama. It's basically like Mani and Kenyan federations cannot be in the same WhatsApp group. So what needs to be done to ensure that this team's preparations are in place? And also I believe that as this is part of the Olympic qualifiers, the National Olympic Committee of Kenya have chipped into.
Yes, what we are doing slightly different from what we do normally is we are starting our training early enough. Already the boys, we selected the team that was supposed to go to Uganda for the All African Games qualifiers, but we opted to go for the Olympic qualifiers. So the team is in place, I believe, but I know the coach will bring some changes probably. I don't know, I don't want to preempt. And then also what we've done as a federation, already we've submitted our budgets. We have talked to the ministry, we have talked to the National Olympic Committee, who are really very supportive. And that is why we are very confident that once everything's set rolling, we will not have issues of running to the press, crying for support and such. I want to believe that with the minister and the PS, I believe everything will be okay. Yes.
Coach, the kind of environment you'd like for training, which one would it be? Would it be Nyayo? Would it be Kasarani? Or where would you like to train? Knowing that, I mean, you're going to play indoors, definitely. If you're going to play if you're going to play in Tunisia, you'll play indoors. Is Kasarani available for you?
Of course, the choice would be Kasarani. But since we have enough time for trainings, we are talking of about 2.5 months. I think doing Nyayo for a month, and of course moving to Kasarani again for 1.5 months, it would be okay with us. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
And for you, Jerry, closing word, what does playing, you know, getting the feeling that you can play at an Olympic qualifier and be up there knocking to get that Olympian, you know, little badge or cutlass or pin for you, what does it mean for you?
Oh, it is an amazing feeling. Even the fact that the country and my federation, you know, has put the trust in you to carry the Kenyan flag, to fly our flag to the Olympics. I tend to think it's an honor, it's a privilege. So as we step into these shoes, I believe and trust that as a player, as a goalkeeper, I have all what it takes, and I just want to give it my all on behalf of my federation and on behalf of the country.
Tunisia, Angola, Egypt, and Morocco. Those are the powerhouses of African handball. Who would you not want to face?
I think you haven't mentioned Kenya too.
No, you will be playing in Kenyan colors unless you...
No, I'm saying those teams that you mentioned. Kenya is also...
should be among them.
Kenya should be amongst them, but you're having the Kenyan flag. You can't play against yourself. So which of the 4 nations would you not want to face?
I think my coach mentioned something, and no, it was my director. He said that sometimes it depends on the mood. So you might think that, you know, Algeria is a powerhouse or Egypt is a powerhouse. Sometimes it only depends with the mood. And with the preparations that we're having, I think it's an open match. So I'm looking forward to actually meeting all of them.
All right. Well, you are sure of meeting Egypt, DRC, and Guinea, and that is in the pool phase Group A of the Tokyo 2020 qualifiers come World Cup qualifiers that will take place in Tunisia next year. I've been speaking with Charles Omondi, who is the technical director, the Kenya Handball Federation, Peter Mwadhi, who is a handball coach, and Jerry Otuoma, a goalkeeper in the Kenya Handball setup. And on behalf of the team that put this bulletin together and our sign language interpreter, Steve Dunde, I am Daniel Wahome, and I wish you a good night.